What is shakin', twisty throttlers? We are about to say goodbye to February of 2024. There isn't the right amount of snow in the mountains for sledding and too much snow for the dirt scooters, so I'm taking a trip to Central Washington for some much needed throttle therapy. The Saddle Mountain ORV Park is located 13 miles south of Vantage, outside the small town of Mattawa, Washington. It offers over 4,500 acres of high desert terrain that consists of narrow single track, makeshift motocross lines, rocky 4x4 trails, and rugged hill climbs. Although the area is open year-round, it's most popular in the spring when the elevated trails are still covered in snow. It's my first time in Mattawa, and although I prefer the twisty, dense mountain single track closer to home, I've gotten the wild idea to compete in the Odessa Desert 100 coming up, and I figured I should get some wheel time in on some similar terrain which I'll be facing in April. This shakedown ride was a good idea too, because it wasn't only me who had to work the dusty cobwebs off of winter. My trusty 2016 KTM 300 XCW 6 Days edition had a few snowflakes to work out of her throat after a long winter as well.
Light's acting up a little bit. I don't know if I'm fouling a plug or what.
Lucky enough for me, the issue cleared itself up after about a half an hour of riding, which was perfectly fine because it cautioned me not to get too brazen straight out the gate. After a long and not so active winter, a gradual ease back into the saddle was appreciated. I've gotten into the habit of mixing my gas a little more generous than 60 to 1 inside my tank as I'm filling up at the pump stations. I had thought the nearly 3-hour drive from home would allow plenty of time and turbulence to mix the oil and gas within the tank, but I think I started out the day a little oil rich at the bottom of my tank, and that was the contributing factor to the bog.
Have to say, one of the things I hate about this fucking bike is the freaking kickstand. It just fell off, so I'm retracing my steps, hopefully find it. I've reordered a KTM kit after it broke, put that on there. It broke off, and then I came up with a pretty good solution of my own. This gets covered in the grease or the oil that drips down from the air filter. I needed to put some blue Loctite on it before I left, but I didn't have any, so hopefully we'll be able to find it. Look at that. Found it. The spring is still on there, but it does not look like the bolt and washer are.
The terrain of Saddle Mountain is far from my normal riding conditions. In fact, on a trek through the tight single-track switchback trails of the inland northwest, I will seldomly make it out of second gear, and one of the things I'm struggling with is knowing when to sit and when to stand. I pride myself on standing nearly 95% of the times I'm riding in the mountains, and I feel that sitting just doesn't offer the same experience. But in this terrain, I feel I can almost be faster sitting in some sections, not to mention how much load this relieves the body when you're training to compete in a grueling 100-mile race through the desert. Another technique I'm looking to work on and improve upon in the Desert 100 is my line selection. When out in the field, and especially after reviewing the footage, I'm often choosing the route most traveled, which in turn means larger whoops and slower speeds. Although it's not foolproof, if I could make a more concise decision to choose the narrower, less traveled route, I should be able to maintain higher speeds. I also found in the larger whooped out sections it'll behoove you to stay towards the outside where the whoops are less drastic, but you must be able to maintain the side hill and keep from dropping down into the deeper section of the whoop.
One of the things that really drew me towards that Desert 100 race was I wanted to ride terrain like this, and I didn't know where I could do it. So the Desert 100 race in Odessa is put on once a year. I think they have a couple other races out there, the Frosty Knuckles and stuff, but it's private land where the race organizations work with the landowners to let us ride. I've always wanted to get out in an area like this. Woo! Check me out, dude.
I arrived at the parking lot pretty early in the morning and was surprised to see this large group gathered at the top of the mountain. After talking to a few of the other riders, I found out this is actually the Stump Jumpers motorcycle club, the same group that puts on the Odessa Desert 100. If you're looking to find new places to ride or groups to ride with, check out their Facebook page, Stump Jumpers Motorcycle Club. The ride for me today is a special occasion. Not only is it the first ride of the season on terrain I've seldom experienced, but it's also my first ride as a father. My son was born this last week, and I know his arrival will bring forward many firsts, many new experiences, and unfortunately restrict my already grueling schedule. The past 2 weeks for me has been diaper changes, swaddling, coddling, repeat, and it's been awesome. I can't put into words how great the experience of my son's first days on this earth have been. It's difficult and rewarding, and I like to believe that I thrive in adversity. Unfortunately, the most common phrase I've heard, or at least the one that's held my attention from friends, family, and colleagues, is how I'll no longer have time for my adventures and hobbies. This outing for me is for the experience of balancing family and my own identity. Although undoubtedly my son's arrival means more planning, communication, and coordination of my needs with my wife, it's days, trails, and views like this that make it all worth it. I hope I'll learn from this trip that the balance is possible.
I was not smart enough to realize that all of those brown dead tumbleweeds, it's like 5 feet deep in there. They just all pile right in the gully.
I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, hit that like button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it motivates me to continue bringing the camera along on future adventures. If you enjoy this type of content, I've been putting out videos pretty regularly. Softly tickling the subscribe button keeps you up to date and helps my motivation to keep sharing my stories. I wanted to end the video with a special shout out to Tacos El Rey in Moses Lake, Washington. I stopped by there on the way home, and the food, staff, and atmosphere was top notch. If you're in the area, I really suggest stopping by. The radiator is held to the bike by just two 10mm bolts located on the lower side of the cooling unit. These same two bolts